And the first thing I've got to get this off. It should be nothing more than a tap of a hammer to get that off, because this held on with the bolts. So they popped right off, but I had lubricated that heavily when the boat was still in the water with PB Blaster. All this has been lubricated, and I have been lubricating it every day since with PB Blaster. And that's the part of the vibration control. The coupling that's made for when things aren't quite lined up. It helps take care of any little discrepancies in alignment and vibration. So that's out. All right, I've already taken the set screw bolts out of the coupling there. There's there, and they had they've got holes in the heads, and it had, you know, safety wire, Monel or stainless safety wire run through the two bolts, and had them locked together so that they couldn't vibrate out. So those are out, and that wire is out. The shaft is not center punched, so that's going to make this puller a little bit more awkward to do, because that center is going to have a tendency to walk on me, since there's no center for it to try to rest in. I have been soaking through the holes where those set bolts were at. I've been soaking that as well with PB Blaster. So there should be a bit of it should have run down through around that shaft by now. So it's kind of tight in here, and kind of dark in here too, but maybe some of it will pick up on the camera. Okay, with a little bit of luck it'll come off easy, but usually anything on the boat is not easy. It's almost always more difficult than you think it's going to be. And it always takes longer than you think it's going to take. It's just kind of a given. I'll try to use my hammer here for a little bit of leverage. It has gotten a lot easier. This little thing right here, I may be wrong, but I think that's actually holding a spare seal. I might be wrong about that, but I know you can purchase something similar to that right there that holds a spare shaft seal that you put on the shaft before you put your motor and all in, or your engine in. And in an emergency, you can take that old shaft, take this apart, and then you've got a new seal to put right in there. And there's a little clip ring. You pop that clip ring out, take something like a dental pick or something, and pull out that old seal. And yet, yes, it would leak, while you're doing that, but not like extreme. I mean, yeah, you'd get several gallons of water in the boat real quick, but it doesn't take long to get that shaft seal lined back up. And then you use this right here, right behind it, you know, to with a hammer, just tap it back in place, and then put that clip ring back in. So in an absolute emergency, you can repair them in the water, but it's not the kind of thing you would want to do unless you had to. But you know, if you've got a shaft seal that's all of a sudden leaking extremely terribly, you know, it might be your best option is to try to do it in the water. But anyway, I think that's what that is, but I'm not 100% sure. This is a water-cooled shaft and seal, and this line right here goes back to the raw water intake. And so the raw water that comes in goes the raw water that is pumped through the engine and out the exhaust has the line that comes here and cools that seal from the backside, and then goes out the cutlass bearing, you know, cooling the shaft. So it's a water cooled shaft. You can also get these that has a grease dirt on them that you'd pack with, you know, you just actually they don't take very much grease, just a tiny bit of grease, but you put a little bit of grease in them, and that lubricates the seal with grease on the backside. Yeah, this hose is a bit old, so I'm gonna probably end up replacing that hose while I've got everything out and apart. It'd be kind of foolish to not replace it at this point, and then have it split or something, you know, right after getting it back in the water. So yeah, I think I'm gonna definitely replace that shaft tube. It would probably last a long time if I hadn't have disturbed it, but I'm seeing dry rot cracks in it whenever I start stretching it to get it off of this seal. So I think I will definitely replace it with a new one. Okay, so there it goes. And the end of this that goes in that tube is similar to the cutlass bearing as far as the shape of it. It's got grooves in it where the water can go through, yet still keep it, you know, snug against the shaft. And of course the shaft spins in that, but that gives it like a at least a 3-inch, maybe 3.5 inch bearing surface. So think cutlass bearing. That's basically what that kind of is right there. And that fits around that shaft, and then that holds this end of the shaft in place as it spins. Water cools it, and then it's got that lip seal that you may not be able to see there, but it's got a lip seal right there, kind of like the grease seal on a trailer axle spindle, you know, where the wheel goes and the bearings and all go. It's like that back. It's kind of like the back seal on that. Anyway, ready to take the shaft out now. Got to turn the rudder all the way to one way. Actually, I can pull it out in this way now too. There you go. So there's the shaft. Not a very long shaft. But like I said, I'm going to replace that hose for sure because it's a bit dry rotted while I've got it all apart. And that, I don't think I've ever had a cutlass bearing liner come out with me like that before. It's the first time ever. So the shaft looks okay. You know, it's a bit grimy, you know, where the salt water was around it, but it's not pitted up terribly or anything like that. So I think it's going to be fine. Just got to clean it up, see what I got. It's pretty chilly today. I've got a little heater running in here today for me, try to warm it up a little bit. But what I'm getting ready to do today, or this afternoon, is I'm going to start stripping the stuff off of the sidewalls here and over here so that I can get that fuel tank right there out, so that I can get in there and take that backing plate loose on that Edson pedestal and you know, get ready to where I can start recoring that cockpit floor. It's rotting around it where sealant had failed and had not been replaced. And also that backing plate looks like it's completely rusted out, so I'm going to have to get a new one of those or make a new one. So anyway, that's what I'm fixing to do. It's kind of hard to video because there's just not that much room, but you can see what I've got to take loose here. I've got the diesel fuel filter, the pump out hose from the holding tank, which I think I'm going to be able to just take and cut all the straps loose and maybe drop it down to the floor and let the tank come above it. That way I don't have to deal with that right now. And over here I've got to take loose the waterlock exhaust system there, and the exhaust hose up to that elbow right there. And again, take that pump out hose loose. And then I actually think it'll go past the strainer, the raw water strainer. So I won't take that out unless I have to. Probably have to take this halon system out, which I'm going to probably do away with that anyway. From what I understand, they have been banned or outlawed or whatever because of causing cancer maybe or something like that. I may be wrong about that, but I've heard that, you know, that they're not available anymore. So I'm probably just going to take it out. Okay, so there's where the tank was. These brackets right here, that was what held the tank in place. And then you can see there's kind of like a rail that goes up with a piece of rubber hose that was laying on it to catch the tank. It goes up there. And then way up there is the rudder stock and the quadrant and I don't remember what that thing's called on the bottom. It's got the pulley wheels that change the direction of the cable. Transition plate maybe or something. Anyway, it actually looks like it's in somewhat decent condition other than the backing plate part of it is rusted out. The rest of it, the wheels themselves look like they may have been replaced at some point in time. They're really good. While I've got everything out, I will also repack that rudder shaft where it comes through right there. There should be a way to pack that right there. So I'll do that. And like I say, at least now I can get in there and work. And you might be able to see up there how rusty that backing plate is. It was real rusty. Yeah, I mean, it's completely rusted out. And then that whole area around it for probably 6-8 inches, or well, 4 to 6 inches around it is rotted out. And then that inspection plate right there in front of it is rotted out around that too. And that's what probably started letting the water in, is somebody put that little plastic inspection plate in there and they didn't seal it. But anyway, it didn't look like it was sealed anyway. Now I can get to that shaft log down there and pull all that out, get to the bolts and the whole bit. There's something that fell down in there. It looks like the end of a broom. Yeah, it's a broom handle end. But you can see the bolts right there. I'm going to take all that out, that stern tube, shaft log. I'm going to get all that out and rebed it all and replace this hose, that hose right there. It comes up to the packing gland or the lip seal. I'm gonna replace all that. That's my water strainer down there. I just laid that down there to get it out of my way so I wouldn't break it while I was getting that tank out. Be a good time to clean all this up. Get rid of any chips or rust or whatever and get it all cleaned out of here. I will probably, I've got that just turned sideways to get it out of my way, but I will probably replace that PVC elbow and fittings right there with bronze. That's exhaust. That's exhaust. And I just never have liked PVC inline in an exhaust. I know people do it. Pretty common with a water cooled exhaust. But all it takes is to lose water very briefly and that's going to melt. And I just feel better with bronze. And there's another one at the back that I should be able to get to from the lazarette, I think. But I'm going to at least replace this one right here behind the engine before I put all this back together. I'm going to have to replace my filler tube, my diesel filler tube. I had to cut it in half with a Sawzall to get everything loose. I couldn't get it loose, even with a heat gun. I couldn't get it to break loose. Just no room to work. So anyway, so that's a start.